السنة مثل سفينة نوح، من ركبها نجا ومن تركها غرق.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. As to what proceeds, we meet once again to study the classical text illustrated by the Mujaddid of his time, Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, known as al-Usul al-Thalatha, the three fundamentals or the three principles or the three foundations. And we got to the first question where the Shaykh rahimahullah he asked, إذا قيل لك من ربك فقل ربي الله. If it is said to you that who is your Rabb, then say my Rabb is Allah. We discussed a few issues with regards to the beautiful name of Allah, which is ar-Rabb. The issue of its whether the word Rabb can be translated or rendered into the English language with an equivalent word, where there is an equivalence for the word Rabb. So I believe all of you are basically following this. You have this book, yes? Teaching children Tawheed. You have this Nusha. And the Shaykh rahimahullah, he mentioned here the second question that he asked. For those who are asking about memorizing Thalaathat-ul-Usool, memorize this text first, and then you can memorize al-Usul al-Thalatha, in my opinion. This has been written in the form that the questions and answers be learnt and memorized and comprehended and understood. In some of your editions, the edition that I have, the second question is وَمَا مَعْنَى الرَّبِّ? What does ar-Rabb mean? And the answer is, and what is the meaning of ar-Rabb? The answer is al-Malikul Ma'bud. Then say the owner of dominion who is worshipped or who is taken as a deity. Ma'bud. Tayyib, is that clear? This is where in my edition the second question finishes. But in the edition that you have, which is the English edition, it continues. It says, وَمَا مَعْنَى الرَّبِّ? It says, فَقُلْ الْمَالِكُ الْمَعْبُودُ وَالْمُعِينُ. Then say the owner of dominion who is worshipped, the one who aids and supports. Al-Malik al-Ma'bud al-Mu'in al-Khaliq al-Raziq or Razzaq. So, due to the variances of the two editions that we have, the Arabic edition only has this answer. When it is asked that who is your Rabb, it says Al-Malik al-Ma'bud. The English edition, it includes 5 things. Al-Malik al-Ma'bud al-Mu'in al-Khaliq al-Raziq or al-Khaliq al-Razzaq. Is that clear? The owner of dominion who is worshipped, the one who aids and supports, the creator and sustainer. So what we can say is that with regards to ar-Rabb, 2 important factors that need to be mentioned when you describe who the Rabb is al-Malik al-Ma'bud, the owner of dominion who is worshipped. Because the one who is the owner of dominion, he is the one who aids and supports, He is the one who creates and sustains. واضح. Is that clear? So that's why we see when we analyze معنى الرب كما يليقه بجلاله وعظمته, we say that ar-Rabb can be described comprehensively by saying al-Malik al-Ma'bud, or in detail by saying al-Malik al-Ma'bud al-Mu'in, al-Khaliq al-Razzaq, or al-Khaliq al-Raziq. واضح. When we look at these 5 qualities and attributes, and if we are to make a comparison between the word Lord, the word Lord which has been domesticated for ar-Rabb, then we find that the word Lord in its meanings, apart from being a supreme being, does not denote any of these qualities. So it is restricted and does not imply these qualities. So question 2 in your English edition in reality has 2 questions within it. And this is something when you make comparisons between different editions, people don't even look at the editions and don't even look. This brother that said that he has relied upon manuscripts. I don't have these manuscripts in my possession now, but I will, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, when I do return back, I will go back and look at this manuscript and see whether these variances are in reality, whether it was one question or whether they were separate questions. But that which is in the Arabic edition of the different editions shows that they are considered to be 2 different questions. Firstly, the second question is brief and concise, which only includes al-Malik al-Ma'bud, which is the owner of dominion who is worshipped. The second question in the English edition includes 5 things: al-Malik al-Ma'bud, al-Mu'in, al-Khaliq al-Razzaq, or Raziq. So, are we clear? So if somebody asks you that who is your Rabb, or who is the Rabb, you can give by saying the owner of dominion who is worshipped. Or you can say the owner of dominion who is worshipped, the one who aids and supports, the one who creates, the creator, the sustainer. That which seems to be correct, wallahu a'lam, from the context that question 2 in the English edition to be divided as 2 questions seems to be more accurate and precise and more befitting. So where it says Allah, the sole possessor of the right to be worshipped and of servitude over his creation, for the simplicity of the people, it should be وَمَا مَعْنَى اللَّهِ. So here, from Allah, the sole possessor of the right to be worshipped and of servitude over his creation, you can write a 3rd question in brackets and say in your Arabic edition, مَا مَعْنَى اللَّهِ, or who is Allah? What does Allah, who does Allah refer to? What does Allah mean? Is that clear? So we always get asked this question. What does Allah mean? Allah means ذُو الْأُلُوهِيَّةِ وَالْعُبُودِيَّةِ عَلَى خَلْقِهِ أَجْمَعِينَ. Allah, the sole possessor of the right to be worshipped and of servitude over his creation. This is the answer. If somebody asks you who is Allah, you will say ذُو الْأُلُوهِيَّةِ وَالْعُبُودِيَّةِ عَلَى خَلْقِهِ أَجْمَعِينَ. Now once again, when you make a comparison of the common translation that is adopted in the English language to replace the word Allah as an equivalent, then that is God. We will see that the word God does not denote this meaning, that the sole possessor of the right to be worshipped and of servitude over his creation. Am I right or wrong in saying that? Because the word God is not the sole possessor of the right to be worshipped, because some refer to God as to be Allah and some refer it to be the son of God. A'udhu billahi min dhalik. Ta'ala Allahu amma yasifun. Jesus. Some refer to God to be idols. So therefore, the issue of domesticating and replacing the word Allah with the phrase God is incorrect and not permissible, because Allah is from amongst those words which are untranslatable. Wadah. And there is a whole concept of untranslatability in the theory of translation. If it can be for other words, man-made words, then why cannot be for the beautiful name Allah? So this is the third question. Allahu ma ma'na Allah? Allah huwa dhul uluhiyyati wal ubudiyyati ala khalqihi ajmain. This statement actually, which has been mentioned by Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn al-Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, can be traced back to Ibn Abbas. This was the statement of who? So write this down. This statement originally can be traced back from Ibn Abbas as mentioned by at-Tabari in his tafsir. This is the source of this statement. When we were told to explain or describe who Allah is, then we described him as he deserves to be described. That which is dignified and befitting for him in a manner which befits his majesty. And that is what Ibn Abbas, who was taught by the Prophet ﷺ, who said to him that Allah is dhul uluhiyyati wal ubudiyyati ala khalqihi ajmain. So question 2 in the Arabic edition has another question within it. Question 2 in the Arabic edition is brief, mentioning only 2 qualities of ar-Rabb, al-Malik al-Ma'bud, whereas in the English edition has mentioned 5, al-Malik al-Ma'bud, al-Mu'in, al-Khaliq, al-Razzaq, al-Raziq. Then the next question that can be separated within the English text, that who is Allah? And Allah is the sole possessor of the right to be worshipped and of servitude over his creation. And this statement in reality is not a statement of Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn al-Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, but it has been taken from Ibn Abbas on the authority of at-Tabari. Okay, the third question in the English edition and the fourth question in the Arabic edition. فَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكْ بِمَا تَعْرِفُ رَبَّكَ فَقُلْ أَعْرِفُهُ بِآيَاتِهِ وَمَخْلُقَاتِهِ. So if it is said to you, how did you come to know your Rabb? See, the problem with this translator is sometimes he foreignizes and sometimes he domesticates. So this is inconsistency from a perspective. In reality, ar-Rabb cannot be translated as Lord, as we know, so it has to be foreignized. Foreignized means that you transliterate the actual word and then you explain what the word actually means or refers to or interpret it. These are 2 common terminologies which is used in the discipline of translation: foreignization and domestication. Hal antum ma'i? Are you with me? Do you understand the terms, the terminology of foreignization and translation? Foreignization means you leave the word in the source language as it is. Allah is left as Allah. Rabb is left as Rabb, and you transliterate in Latin or in the alphabet that we have. Domestication is when you do the complete opposite of foreignization. Rather than preserving the source language, you completely replace it with what you think is an equivalent of that language in the target language. Then that word replaces the actual word of the source language. For example, Lord with a Rabb. Now the word has become so domesticated that it is used interchangeably, like we're seeing here with the translator. There is no real difference left between the source language and the target language and the word Rabb and Lord. Where again we say that Rabb is from the untranslatable words in the Arabic language. Well, is that clear? So whenever I use these terms, you will know what I am referring to. When it comes to how should we know our Rabb, or how do we know that our Rabb exists? I mentioned this in my talk on Saturday. I don't know if any of you students attended. Did any of the students here attend the talk on Saturday with regards to some of the issues of Tawheed that were discussed? When I mentioned that in order for you to prove the existence of something, there are three possibilities. For those of you who did not attend, for their benefit. If I wanted to prove to you that something exists, either I myself with my two eyes have visualized or witnessed or seen that thing. So if I saw someone and then somebody asked me that, do you know that this person? And I said to him, yes, I've seen him, I've met him. That is proof that this person exists and I have met him because I have seen him with my two eyes. Yes? Are we clear on this? There's three possibilities to establish the existence of something. This is the first. With regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is mahal, this is impossible. We can't see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya. لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار وهو اللطيف الخبير. The second possibility is to see a replicate or a copy of that thing. So for example, if you have not seen, just say for example, a brand new Range Rover. So you haven't seen, so I see another car which is very similar, not the same but very similar. There's similarities between them. So I say to you, look, you see this car? This car is similar to the car that I am talking about. You know, there's these things, this is similar and this is similar, this is similar. This is the second possibility, to draw similarities, to show a copy, or to describe, to have some resemblance of the thing which you are talking about. Yes? So for example, I have this pen and I say I'm talking about another pen. I say, look, it's a bit like this pen. It says a long, it's long as this, it's a blue color, etc. This is also mahal and not permissible for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be described with anything other than that which He has described for Himself. Can't be resembled or parallels drawn between Allah and anything amongst the creation. So then we have the last possibility, which is description. To describe Allah. And when we describe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we describe Him and His actions. So how do we describe Allah? We describe Allah in a manner in which He has described Himself, or that which has been described by the Prophet ﷺ, and we negate for Him in that which he has negated for Himself, or that which has been negated by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes or no? So this is how we establish the wujud, or the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by referring back to Him, and He describes Himself the best. Nobody can describe Allah better than Himself. So from the three possibilities that are possible for other than Allah, number one and number two for the creation. But when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this dunya, then only the third is possible. And when it comes to the description of Allah, then from the greatest of forms of establishing so we have the description of Allah, that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described. And then we have signs and landmarks that prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have His ayat, signs, and His makhluqat, which is His creation. So the existence of Allah is established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing Himself and His actions and His sign and His creation. Is that clear? So far, is that clear of what I have mentioned? Say that أعرفه بآياته ومخلوقاته. Say I know Him by His ayat, which are signs. Again, ayat is translated as signs. And His makhluqat, which is translated as creation. Tayyib. Ayat are called ayat because they are easily noticed and they are great in their creation. So the difference between ayat and makhluqat. Every single ayah is from the makhluq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But not every single makhluq or creation of Allah is from amongst His signs. Do we understand? Ayah are those signs which are great, which have importance, which are easily noticeable. Nobody can miss them. Nobody can say, I'm ignorant of this. You may be ignorant or may not have knowledge of certain animals or insects or certain creations which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in the forests. Yes or no? Many. Sometimes you see such great creations and you think, wow, subhanallah, this is what Allah created. Yes or no? But ayat are such that they're in your face, in front of your eyes, in front of you all the time. They cannot be ignored or neglected or denied. These are ayat in front of your face. Impossible to deny their greatness and the functions that they have and what they do. Nobody disputes with regards to these signs of their functions and their importance and the benefits that they provide. And those ayat which have been mentioned here are those which are regular and frequent. Their function is something which is regular and frequent. Part and parcel of our lives as the creation, human beings and jinns. Part of our life. Not that they are external, like in the forests. You might see, like if you were to see a great animal 50, 60 feet in the forests, that will shock you. You will say, what a great creation Allah has created. But it might not always be under your nose and visible, but something which is on a daily base in front of you and in front of me. And this is a sign for us to contemplate and reflect upon the power and the might of of Allah's power, His mightiness, His greatness. Something which has a function, which never fails, which never stops, which never halts, which never goes wrong. It's perfect. And people look for miracles in aubergines and when the signs are clearly there. You know, these kuffar, we don't tell them to look at the signs, but we want to do philosophical and arguments and debates with them when the signs are clear. The signs are clear. How is this disbeliever and this atheist going to deny this? So perfect. The seasons that we have, autumn, summer, winter, they always come one after another. We never find that when it's winter in the UK, we find that it's summer in Australia, and when it's summer in Australia, we find that it's winter in the UK. Everything is perfect. Everything is visible. Everything is noticeable. Nobody needs to be debriefed or schooled or educated. These are His signs. Signs are something which are noticeable. When you go on the streets and when you go on the roads, the signs are big, so that they are noticed. And these signs show and indicate one thing, and that is the greatness and the power and the might of their creator and their maker. Well, so what are the signs that the ayat that are mentioned? I prefer that the word ayat be mentioned because signs. Does the word sign do justice to the word ayah? Tell me, in the context that I have explained, does it? No. So this is, the more we study the Arabic language, the more we realize that translation is becoming bitter for us. So that's why we, as students of knowledge, should start using these terms in the language that they have been revealed in, that have been used by Allah and Allah's message. So from amongst the ayat are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. 4 things have been mentioned: night, the day, the sun and the moon. Now if you look at these 4 ayat, you will see that these 4 ayat have an important presence in the life of a human being. Yes or no? And this is what Allah mentioned. And then Allah mentioned from His makhluqat. And from amongst His creation is that which Allah created, which is great in size and in the fashion that it has been created. In comparison to everything that Allah has created is unique, unprecedented, has its importance. But certain creations from amongst the creation of Allah are great, because Allah called them great. So from His makhluqat, from His creation, He didn't mention anything. Again, He mentioned that which was great and lofty. So He mentioned the heavens and the earth. The earth that we live in now is from His creation. And the opposite of earth, in parallel to the earth, is the heavens. So these are what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. How many things were mentioned in total? From the ayat were mentioned 4. Again, the heavens and the earth and all that is in between them. 7 things were mentioned. How many things in total were mentioned? 4 from His ayat and 3 from His makhluqat, which basically sums up the entire creation. The entire creation. Remember I said to you that ayat are also from his makhluqat. Every single ayah is makhluqah, but not every single makhluqah is an ayah. So we have the earth, and parallel to the earth, we have the sama. And what is in between them? What is which is in between them? Then everything is a creation of Allah, and in every single creation of Allah, there is a sign that there is a creator who created it. There is a sustainer that sustains it. واضح, is that clear? And the evidence for this, إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش يغشي الليل النهار يطلبه حثيثا والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره ألا له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله رب العالمين. Indeed, your Rabb is Allah, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and then he rose over the throne. He brings the night as a cover over the day, seeking it rapidly, and he created the sun, the moon, the stars, subjected to his command. Surely his is the creation and commandment. The nuskha which I have, the Arabic edition, has another ayah which has been added, which you may add on. Sorry, no, part of the ayah was mentioned, the end part of the ayah. إِلَى قَوْلِهِ تَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ حَثِيثًا وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ وَالنُّجُومُ مُسَخَّرَاتٍ بِأَمْرِهِ. نعم. تَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Now, the brother did not translate the last part of the ayah, which is ajib. He did not translate the ayah, تَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. I don't know why. Am I correct in saying so? Did he translate the ayah? Because I was looking for the translation of تَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Has this been translated? تَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. No. So this needs to be noted. But why did the brother translate أَلَا لَهُ الْخَلْقُ وَالْأَمْرُ and then leave out the last part of the ayah? Surely his is the creation and command. طيب. Khalas, we'll stop here then. So we'll, بإذن الله تعالى, we'll finish. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك فيكم.